Hey all, Daniel here. We have a great new way for you to reach out to us here at We Watch TV. If you take a look down in the show notes of the podcast, you'll notice a link that says text us a question or comment. The link will open the messaging app on your phone, and from there you can send a text message to us, your favorite variety TV podcast hosts. So if we say something you like or don't like about your favorite show, click that link and educate us on your opinion. We love hearing them, even if they're wrong, and we will make sure to shout you out on our next episode or answer your burning questions. So make sure and check that out down in the show notes. And now, enjoy the episode. Hey everybody, and welcome back to We Watch TV, the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel, and this is another Supercut episode. If you're new or haven't listened to one of these before, a Supercut is when we take all of our conversations about a specific show from various podcast episodes and mash them all together into one Supercut episode just about that show. This week's Supercut is all about Amazon Prime's Fallout, Season 1. We started our conversation in episode 66, Hot Ghoul Summer.
Hey, we watched some TV.
New TV.
Some new TV. And speaking of vinyl, because we were talking about vinyl a second ago, the soundtrack to this show is on vinyl, and I'm thinking about pulling the trigger.
It's my favorite part of the show so far, and that show is Fallout on Amazon Prime. It is based on the video game series Fallout. We have watched 3 episodes so far. I don't like it as much as you. I don't dislike it. And I've never played the game. I know we bought the game which this one's in California, but there was one that came out in like West Virginia that had some Mothman stuff, so that's kind of from our area. I don't know if the game moves at a glacial pace, but my biggest beef in these 3 episodes in, which the 3rd episode was the best we've watched, is they are taking a really long time to set the story and lay the groundwork. They're not moving quickly enough to appease me because I really want to get some more of the mystery and the backstory, which we got a little bit more of with the 3rd episode. So just like as you said, the soundtrack, that's been my favorite part so far. The music is great. I'm not loving the show yet. I don't know. Maybe I'm not getting some like video game references because like I said, I haven't played the video game before. I don't hate it. It's fine. That's my opinion on it so far, but you are seeming to really like it a little bit more than me. So why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts?
I do like it. I will say I have not played a ton of Fallout. Like, I am familiar with the Fallout world. I think the last Fallout I really got into was Fallout 3, and that came out in, like, 2007. So it's been a while. But I do like the world that they have created. I think just knowing what I know about the games, the people who made the show got the game. They understood it. And for video game adaptations, that can be rare. Yeah. That the movie studio actually seems like they cared about the game enough to throw some stuff in there for the fans. I don't think it's overly like look at this stuff. I think they're really light touching it. They're not like hitting you over the head with it. I do agree with you. I think the mystery of the show is taking a little bit of time to get together. They're spending a lot of time trying to set up the world. I think that's because
I get it.
Yeah, I think they think maybe people don't understand. Like, I think it's pretty easy to understand. Like,
it's almost
what's
like
happening.
They're like wanting to like spoon feed us. And this, from my understanding, I believe there's only 8 episodes. So I'm going to be annoyed if they do that thing where they put the foot on the gas like the last 2.
Yes, I agree.
And it just spews everything at me at once. Kind of like that was always my biggest criticisms of The Walking Dead, is that was a good show at one point, but it would move at such a glacial pace until like the mid-season or the season finale. And from my understanding, everyone's like, that has finished Fallout so far, not giving a spoiler because I don't know what happens. Everybody's like, we need a season 2. I hope we don't have to wait very long. So I would like to think that it's going to pick up and get better. I want to phrase, I do not dislike it. It's just like I'm not itching to play the next episode at this point because I just feel like there's stuff that I want to know. And I feel like they're just taking a really long time to like to just establish the scene. They're taking too long for me, and I want him to pick up the pace a little bit. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Let's get into the lore of it, which we did. Episode 3 got into a little bit more of like the mystery, the backstory on the ghoul, who, by the way, I can't take that character seriously because I've never even seen the show that the meme, like, go outside, nerd. Like, I've never even seen the meme that what is that show called?
I think it's The Righteous Gemstones.
Something like that. I've never even seen that show, but I've heard
We
that.
might need to watch it now that we've seen, like...
Yeah, I've heard that 1,000 times, and I guess I thought that guy was just putting on a voice for that. And I think he, like, the actual, like, actor has a bit of a southern drawl, which he, like, overly does for, like, this show, and probably that one as well. But we saw clips from him. He was in a show called, like, Vice Principals or something, where he kind of had that accent as well.
I think that's just his accent. Yeah, and he might push it a little hard sometimes, but I think that generally is how he speaks.
And why is the ghoul hot? That's weird.
Well, I was going to ask you that question. Is the ghoul hot?
At first, I was very mad at the ghoul when I thought that, for those people who have not watched, cover your ears with the whole dog thing.
Yeah.
But then the dog turned out to be okay. The ghoul is kind of hot, yeah. They actually did, like, that's how you create a character without a nose that doesn't look like it still looks like a person, unlike Voldemort, which I guess the point, like, Voldemort was supposed to be snake-like.
Yeah.
But I will never get over how weird they made Voldemort look in the Harry Potter movies.
Is the ghoul hotter than Cooper Howard, his past self?
I haven't seen enough of Cooper Howard.
Okay, sure, yeah.
And
I think episode 3 kind of revealed to you you're probably going to see more of him because they're doing some stories through flashback.
Yes.
Um,
Can we talk about the Sex and the City connection? Okay, so Kyle MacLachlan, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Most people, I believe, probably know him as at Twin Peaks. Mm-hmm. That's like the show he's like probably known for. I know him as Trey McDougal from Sex and the City, and also as the captain from that terrible show, How I Met Your Mother.
Right.
But Trey McDougal would always be like, alrighty. Like when Charlotte would want him to agree to something, he would just like do this alrighty thing. And his daughter, he's in the show. We've only seen him in the first episode. I assume we'll see him more. But his daughter, Lucy, who's like kind of the main character from The Vault, she always goes, okie dokie. And I saw this thing on the Sex and the City Reddit of all places. And it was just like, oh, every time they're like, I'm watching Fallout and I can't like unsee Trey. And then they're like, and look at this. Okie dokie. Alrighty.
well, and then the woman that kidnaps him, because the story, the premise of the show is he is kidnapped.
Yes.
And Lucy goes to save him.
Yeah, she has to leave the vault.
The woman who kidnaps him was in And Just Like That.
Yes, which is the sequel series to Sex and the City. So it's like, I don't know. And Severance guy.
Oh, yeah. Ethan.
Yep.
He's one of the Vault Dwellers.
So this show definitely has a lot of Leo pointing at the TV memes.
It really does.
But not as much as the next show we're going to talk about. But we have seen 3 episodes of Fallout. We will be watching more. We'll probably, I would say, maybe be finished by next week. This episode, I don't know.
It depends. Like, so
if they pick up the pace.
If the next episode we watch really gets you, we will be done by next week.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, it'll be. Yeah. It might take us a little bit longer.
Anything else that you want to say about Fallout? Oh, I have one more thing I want to say, so you go first.
Okay. The only I do think they do a really good job with the video game tie-ins, but it's not completely like ridiculous. The one thing that is ridiculous, but I love it, is the bag.
That's what I was going to talk about.
The bag that the squire has to hold for the big armored suit guys is the in video games. A lot of games you have an inventory that's personal, like you keep stuff on you, and if you get too much stuff in there, you get slowed down because you're weighed down. But like you never see it all physically there, and so I think it's a hilarious gag that they've got this gigantic bag this guy's carrying around, following the guy.
It kind of reminds me of my huge suitcase that I use for my checked bag.
Yeah,
and because I'm like 5 feet tall, it's almost like my height.
Yeah.
The bag. Oh, and then since you mentioned that, I would be remiss if I did not mention this. So often when I watch a program with Daniel, I'm going to say program like an old person, he will criticize every little detail just to get on my nerves. Yet you're totally cool with the fact that Lucy in episode 1 gets stabbed in the stomach and just she's healed by all she does is like take this needle thing, and you're like, oh, that's a video game reference. Like that's how you brushed it off.
That's how you get healed in video games. You just stab yourself with a syringe.
She would have needed like major surgery and probably died.
She stapled it shut.
Okay.
That's all it
Anyway.
takes.
All right. I just had to nitpick you like you nitpick me.
We continued our conversation and finished the season of Fallout in episode 67, Trash Pandas.
That said, it is time. We finished it. Last week we had talked about the first 3 episodes, and this week we finished Amazon Prime's Fallout show.
All right, 8-episode season. We did finish it. Season 2 is confirmed, but no date. Is season 2 going to, I believe it probably will, play off of the events of season 1, or do you think they'll do a whole other cast like they do with like the whole other place with the games?
I think they'll play off the what they set up in season
They
1.
better, because they left
very
a lot of
clearly,
stuff
yeah,
open.
they very clearly left a lot of open-ended stuff there.
So many things open. So I still don't love it because I was like, but I like it more. It got better. Like I said, I never said that I disliked it. I was like, it was fine. I'd still say it was fine, maybe a little better than fine as we got into it. Episode 3 I thought was better than the first 2, but really that 4th episode is where things really started to pick up for me to the point that I was wanting to finish it. And then we watched episodes 7 and 8 in the same evening.
Yeah.
And made sure to knock that out. It definitely got a lot better. It's still not my favorite type of show. I don't super love apocalyptic type shows, but I do like mysteries, and you get mystery from this. And my biggest complaint that I talked about in last week's episode of the We Watch TV podcast still stands. It was too slow in the beginning. It moved at a glacial pace to get this mystery going, whereas I feel like they were really trying to drive home the point of like what was going on. This is the situation. This is where we're at now. And it's like, you know what? I'm smart enough. I picked up on that by at least the beginning of episode 2. So I think you agreed with me on that. They went a little too slow.
They were a little too slow at the first 3 episodes
Planting
on
the
trying to,
seeds.
yeah, they could have moved a little bit faster there, I think. But overall, I was very pleased with.
Once they got into the
Yeah.
mystery, though, it started getting good because I wanted to know, like, okay, you know, what's going on with the ghoul? Like, what's like his backstory? We still don't know. I still didn't get my. And he asked the question. I think that's the last line he says. Like, where the F is my family?
Yeah.
Because the whole time I'm like, okay, well, you know, what happened to his wife who ended up being evil?
Seems
I
to
thought,
be the
get
case,
out.
yeah.
She kind of gave me low-key evil energy to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just got a vibe. And then his daughter was in that very first episode when they were at that party and they like were entertaining people. And like, so essentially, while we did get into the mystery more, I'm left with more questions than where I started from. Like, still, again, where's the family? How do you become a ghoul? Are ghouls like zombies in the fall?
I think they are kind of like zombies. I would assume so. I don't really know the ghoul lore, so
Well,
to
the one
speak.
character from the Brotherhood who, how do we know him as?
Wow,
Daniel?
wow.
Hey, Superstore fans. It's Bo from Superstore. I do not remember his name on this. And he was with Maximus because he thought he was supposed to be a squire because Maximus like lied about the
Yeah.
whole thing. It was pretending to be a knight. That was a whole thing. And he like hurt his foot and took some medicine from the creepy guy.
I have a note about the creepy guy, by the way. You told me that you looked at me and you told me to write this down, so I specifically have Pete's dragon chicken inappropriate with chickens.
Yes. Okay, so this guy that the guy from the Brotherhood sees about his broken foot to get some kind of medicine calls himself like a doctor. But he's absolutely giving snake oil salesman from Pete's Dragon. Everybody that has watched the OG Pete's Dragon,
That's nobody.
you've watched it.
Only because you forced me.
I love Pete's Dragon. It's such a fun movie. Candle in the Water by Helen Reddy is an amazing song, so whatever. We love Elliot the Dragon. Anyway, there's this character in Pete's Dragon that I don't even know what the name of the character is, quite honestly.
Snake oil salesman.
I don't think that's he calls himself
Yeah,
something,
he has a
though.
name. Yes.
And he basically is essentially a snake oil salesman. So this guy, I'm convinced that this actor who played the doctor in air quotes on Fallout took his muse was that character from Pete's Dragon because wasn't giving like the exact same energy.
You pointed it out to me. I brushed it off, and then the more he was on screen, the more I was like, "Holy crap!" is this a deep cut Pete's Dragons reference? I don't feel like it should be, because like no one except you on Earth is going to get that. But it really felt like the notes he was getting was very similar to that. And I want to step back on Pete's Dragon for a second. To remind everybody, if you're curious about this movie and you go back, you're going to find a movie that's like 10 years old or something in that realm.
Not that one.
That's not what she's talking about. She's talking about the weird one
from like the 70s.
From the 70s or the 60s, whenever that movie was made.
It's got Helen Reddy in it.
Bizarre. And if you make it past the first 5 minutes with the people in the woods, then you're better than me.
It's got Helen Reddy in it, singer, I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar. It doesn't have like Mickey Rooney in it. And it has the guy that plays, he's one of like the creepy like guys that are trying to like kidnap the hill people. Yeah. Kaniki from Grease is in it as well. I don't remember his name. But yeah, like, so the guy even had the same voice inflections.
It was weird.
As the Pete's Dragon person. So he sees, anyway, the guy from the Brotherhood sees him, and he takes this like elixir, and then like his toe does kind of move back into place.
Yeah.
But suddenly he's like turning into a ghoul. So do you have to take medicine to turn into a ghoul? We know that you have to take medicine to keep from going like losing like your absolute mind. Like you can still function like the ghoul that we know, like the ghoul.
Yes.
Like he still like has all his memories of when he was Cooper, and he pretty much functions. He just has to take continuous medicine. But then we've seen other ghouls, I mean, that have like, they don't really have brain function
They're basically
anymore.
Zombies.
Like, spoiler alert, as you guys know, this is a spoiler podcast. At the end, we do find Lucy's mommy.
Yeah.
And she's like the non-functioning type of zombie. So is it like The Walking Dead, where everybody has a virus, and everybody, if you stay in the fallout shelters, that you'll eventually become a ghoul, or do you have to take some type of medicine? That's a question that I would like answered in season 2. Does the video game answer this question? I've never played the video game, so I
have
don't know.
No idea. I haven't played enough Fallout to understand that process. So
if you have played the Fallout video games, please let us know if they reference this or if this is just something in the show.
We have an easy way for you to let us know. Just hit that little link in the show description.
I want to know what's going on, because we figured out how. So we got the woman from Sex and the City. What is her name in the show? It starts with an M. Moldaver, who everybody's looking for at the end. We get some stuff that comes up about her, and she's been around way since Cooper, before he was the ghoul. So they tell us how she was able to look the same. She's not a ghoul. Basically, all these rich people that bought these vaults in Fallout, including Lucy's daddy, Hank, basically puts themselves in like a preservation like chamber. They look like giant things that you get at like the bank. Like through the drive-through, but like
giant bank
human
tubes.
supersized. So they stick them in there, and then they can come out. And like the whole mystery of Fallout is that these rich people, they can like basically they can still their hands still in the cookie jar, running the show. So that's partly answers the mystery about what happened to Vault. Was it Vault 32 or 31? I get confused.
31 is where they're all kept. Nobody's actually alive in 31. They're all in that stasis sleep. And then every now and then one of them gets woken up to go be in charge of 31 and 30 or 32 and 33.
Yes. So we figured out Betty. We've also seen her before. Can I just say too that when they did the flashback with Hank, I literally thought I was seeing Troy McDougal from Sex and the City.
They did a really good job with the de-aging there. Yeah.
Really good. So all that has been answered. So, which begs the question, if the ghoul's wondering where his family is, obviously his daughter and him got separated, because at the beginning, that first episode is where they supposedly did drop the bombs.
Yeah.
And we don't know where she is, if she's even with the mother. The mother, we find out, what was she up to, Daniel? She was like, let's just bomb everybody ourselves.
But that was the implication she gave, was,
what if we drop the bombs?
Yeah, what if we drop them? So that's
It's giving crazy. And he finds out all this. So that was kind of like the big mystery. So those questions were answered. The questions that are not answered: how do you become a ghoul? Where's Moldiver? We saw her kind of like, she is dead, right?
She died. Yeah, she died. The Brotherhood now has control of the kind of energy thing. That was kind of the
that was in the head of the one guy that they had to chop off. Like, is it called cold fusion?
Cold fusion's what they call it, yeah. And so, But Troy McDougal, he runs off.
Hank.
Hank. That's
Troy McDougal. Trey McDougal.
Trey McDougal. Hank runs off, and so he's heading what we believe. The ghoul is like, well, to figure out, where my family is, and and to hold people accountable for all this, we need to find out who's in charge.
And Lucy goes with the ghoul.
And Lucy goes with the ghoul because Maximus is kind of out of capacity, like he's knocked out, and they got to go because the Brotherhood is coming down on him.
Yeah.
And she's kind of broke. Like that last Okie Dokie.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, was very broken.
I'm glad we got one more okie dokie.
Yeah.
There's definitely room to expand on all these stories in season 2. I have to say, her dad, I didn't expect to get full villain energy. I thought something was up and nefarious with him, but I thought at the end of the day he might choose his daughter. But when she was just basically like, no, I don't care what you say, he's like, fine, see you later.
Yeah.
And did you get the vibe that her mom had a relationship, romantic, with Maude Iver?
Yes, I did.
Okay, because I got the same vibe. So Lucy also learns that she has, in fact, been in the outside world because that's when everything all went down. And this place is called, what is this place
Shady
called?
Sands.
It's called Shady Sands. I keep calling it Shady Pines for all my Golden Girls people. And do you think they're going to try to rebuild this place?
Well, they'll have to build it in a different spot because it's in a giant crater in the ground where it was. So
who scares you more, the vault people, the rich people, or the Brotherhood creepy people? The Brotherhood people creep me out.
It's interesting.
Everybody has an agenda.
Yeah, the vault people, they're certainly controlling things, but I wonder how much of their power has waned with what's going on, although they still apparently have the ability to drop nukes if they want to.
And then Hank's son, he figures all this out and basically
but he's locked in 31.
They make him go in Hank's old vault.
Yeah.
And that little boy, I call him a little boy, he was on Hannah Montana, and then he also dated Susu Heck on The Middle, but because he looks like he's still a grown-up but still looks like a child, you were like, was he always this young looking? I was like, yes.
Yeah, well, and when they stand him next to that other guy in the
short,
vault,
that's what you asked. How
he looks so short.
Because he is. So there's a lot of questions. I just want to say that the ghoul and I have the same energy because every time the ghoul is sucking on those inhalers, that's been me for the past 3 weeks.
It has been.
Because my voice is still not great. I'm still coughing a lot. I'm like, am I turning into a ghoul? What's going on? Would you still love me if I was a ghoul?
Yeah. Yes. As long as you were one of the the ghoul and not like Lucy's mom ghoul.
You should always.
I mean, Lucy's mom ghoul looked like if you let her off of the chair she was on, she was going to just try and tear everybody's throats open. A full-on zombie.
I'm going to need some information about the ghoul lore and all of that.
Have you heard of the internet?
I have.
I bet you could go to there and find all the lore about ghouls that you ever wanted,
really
and probably more.
A deep dive on that.
There's probably some fan fiction art about ghouls too, and I don't know that you want to go that deep.
I just want to know, is everybody's fate destined to become a ghoul? How did the ghoul even become a ghoul?
You know what? That might be a question for season 2.
There's a lot. So you need to answer for me.
Overall, what do you think? Are you looking forward to season 2?
I am, because I do like a mystery. I hope that when they start season 2, I would like to see a little bit of a time jump. And I hope that they can, now that they've set the mystery, we know what's going on, we know who the main players are, that we can just kind of jump into it. I don't want the slow rollout. I want to keep going at the mystery. I want more flashbacks. I loved all the flashbacks, with Cooper. Yeah. I would like to see more flashbacks with Hank and his wife. I would like to see some of that. Do you think Lucy and Maximus will get together?
I think if I'm writing the show and I'm reading and I'm looking at how this show went down, I don't know how much interaction those two are going to get in season 2.
Yeah.
Because I think we're going to get Dark Lucy. She's going to be with the ghoul on basically a revenge plot. And I think if I think I know where the writers might be going, is they're going to take her real dark until she gets just on the edge of not being able to come back, and then she'll realize that
everything that she thought she knew was
has been completely destroyed.
And also, I do have to say this: in our very first episode that we watched to Fallout, there was the blonde girl who now wears an eye patch and was pregnant. And I looked at you and said, I don't like this woman. I was like, she gives me like mean energy. There's something up with her. We come to find out she's one of the people too from the other vault that sent in. And I'm like, correct. It's a vibe check, Daniel.
I get you.
But what are their excuses? Like, what's the difference between the vaults? What do they say about the mashed potatoes?
They're just slightly better.
They're slightly better. I love mashed potatoes.
I know you do.
I'm excited. It did improve from my initial thoughts from the first 3 episodes. So I still don't love it though. It's just never going to be like the type of show that I super duper enjoy. But I do like a good mystery. So if you like a good mystery and you're looking for something to fill the time before June bombards us with content, I would recommend you get on there and watch Fallout.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Especially, I thought that my biggest concern about the Fallout show is that the producers of all the streaming services are going to learn all the wrong things about this video game to TV adaptation. Okay, they're going because this show was made by people who cared about the games, but they didn't try and recreate the games. They put some stuff in there, but they told a story that was compelling, a story that anybody, familiar with the games or not, would care about.
Yeah.
And I feel like the wrong lessons are going to get learned, and the you know how superheroes has been like the hotness. Well, that time has passed, and now the producers are going to be like, okay, find me every video game IP we possibly can.
One with your favorite video game ever, Metroid.
We'll be very concerned that they'll screw it up.
They should just do Tetris, the series.
Good job knowing my favorite video game, by the way.
I have known you for quite some time.
Well done.
Anything else you want to say about Fallout?
No, I agree with you. Like, if you're looking for something, and you have Amazon Prime, which, I mean, so many people do, give it a watch. I think it's really good.
I like the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
It does give me Loki vibes.
Yeah, the music and the setting and all that stuff is from the games, and they really did a good job of keeping to that.
And I like the colors of the Vault people's outfits. Obviously, it reminds me of WVU. So, yeah, it definitely improved. So I do want to just make sure everybody knows that, yes, my opinion improved. It did pick up the pace. And I will look forward. I will be mad if they do a completely different story for season 2.
I don't think they're going to do that. I never thought never occurred to me until you said it, because you had done enough reading about the video games, I guess, to know how the video games do it, where each game is a new vault coming out.
Well, I know one took place in West Virginia and had the Mothman a few years ago.
Yeah. And so I had never thought about that. I figured, with that cast, and I want to say that before we skip on, I like the cast. I thought that all the cast members really did a good job. I know you were critical of Maximus at first.
Frowny face.
But I think his character, I
wasn't critical of the actor.
Yeah.
I was critical of the character. I found the character to be very one note in the beginning, and he always made the same facial expression. Once he got into scenes with Lucy and other people, then his character was a little more compelling. Speaking of Maximus, do you think that he put the razor blades in his friend's shoe?
I think at the very end, very quickly, they kind of resolved that his friend did that on their own. But it was very, like, if you weren't paying attention, it happened very quickly. I thought it would have been more interesting if he had done that.
Yeah, in terms of actors, though, I thought they all did a very good job acting-wise. My criticism, like, if I had to have, like, a Maximus standalone episode, I think I would have been bored to tears.
You were worried about that for a second, and I agree.
Was.
I don't think he alone, and it's not the actor, his character alone couldn't support an episode by himself. But together with Lucy, yeah, he definitely Goosey.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.